I was wrong. We made a bit of a mistake. We did read the first half of this book, but we did not record it. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to flag it to say, watch this one first. This is the beginning of Bold and Brave, 10 Heroes Who Won Women the Right to Vote, by Kirsten Gillibrand, and illustrated by Mayra Kalman. This is a library book that we checked out from the West Palm Beach Public Library, and we need to return it, so it is important that we do this. Just notice how all the women on the front are wearing white. Even there's a sweet little boy on the front wearing white, but that's like very symbolic to this era and this fight. Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty? Inez Milholland. Bold and Brave, 10 Heroes Who Won Women the Right to Vote. Women, use your vote. To my mother who dared to be different, and to my beloved children and their children and their children. And when I was a little girl, after church on Sundays, I would visit my great-grandmother Mimi. She told me about a time when women like her left their homes and worked in factories, making equipment to help American soldiers win the war. Mimi taught me to be bold and believe that there was nothing I couldn't do. Mimi's oldest daughter was my grandmother Polly. She liked to roller skate down the long marble hallways of New York State Capitol, where she worked. When I was about 10, Grandma took me to a big room where ladies stuffed envelopes with letters urging people to vote. I thought, I want to be just like them someday. Grandma taught me to fight for what I believe in. Mimi, Polly, Penny. Grandma's oldest daughter was my mom, Penny. She always did what she set her mind to. She was a sports writer for her student newspaper, and even though girls were not allowed in the press boxes, she went on to law school and was one of the only 3 women in her class. As a mom, she also earned her black belt in karate, something few women at the time aspired to. My mother taught me you need to be brave to forge a new path. Who taught my mom and her mom and her mom to be bold and brave so they could teach me and you? I can tell you who. The women who came before them, women who faced unimaginable challenges. Summer with my family. When my grandmother was born, women didn't have the right to vote. That meant they didn't have the power to elect the people who established our country's rules and laws. Less than a century later, I became a United States Senator, which means I helped make those laws. Here are 10 women who paved the way. They were called suffragists, not because they suffered, although they most certainly did, but because suffrage means the right to vote. They fought so women could be heard. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, 1815 to 1902. Dare to be different. In 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton was a young mother when she and her friends decided to hold a big meeting about women's rights. They believed something uncommon at the time, that all men and women are created equal, and wanted laws to guarantee it. They especially wanted the right to vote. The 300 women and men who attended this convention near Elizabeth's home in Seneca Falls, New York, became some of the earliest American suffragists. People made fun of the suffragists, but Elizabeth didn't let that stop her. She was fearless. As a young girl, she rode horses, learned Greek, and played chess, all of which were typically just for boys. She once said, "The best protection any woman can have is courage." The first convention in July 1814 was only the beginning of her 50-year effort to win voting rights for women, but she was not alone in her journey. Courage always. Susan B. Anthony, never give up. Susan B. Anthony was an abolitionist, which meant she opposed slavery. Elizabeth Cady Stanton convinced Susan to fight for women's rights, too. Together they were a team. Some people said that Elizabeth forged the thunderbolts and Susan fired them. Susan traveled the country by train and horse-drawn coach to rally support for voting rights for women. Often wearing her favorite red silk shawl, she wrote home, "We speak in schoolhouses, barns, sawmills, log cabins, with boards for seats and lanterns hung around for lights, but people come 20 miles away to hear us. Today, 20 miles may not seem far, but before cars, it could take all day or longer to travel that distance." In 1872, Susan tried to vote for president and was arrested. She spoke out for years and years until she died, almost 50 years before women won the right to vote. Others carried the torch, and with the amendment that finally granted women the right to vote, the 19th Amendment, it's also called the Susan B. Anthony Amendment. Votes for women. Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth's given name was Isabella Baumfree. She was born into slavery in Ulster County, New York. She left her owner in 1826, the year before enslaved people were freed in her state. Years later, she changed her name. Sojourner means someone who travels from place to place. Yeah, speak the truth. Sojourner means someone who travels from place to place, and truth was at the center of her faith. She once said, "I will shake every place I go," and she did just that. Sojourner was one of the first African American women to successfully stand up for herself in court. Her young son was still enslaved, and she sued to free him and won. Sojourner fought to end slavery and traveled the country pressing for equality for all. She worked with some of the most important thinkers of the day, such as abolitionist Frederick Douglass and President Abraham Lincoln. In 1851, she spoke at the Women's Rights Convention in Akron, Ohio, and in 1867 at the American Equal Rights Association meeting in New York. Sojourner asserted that all people deserved the right to vote, no matter the color of their skin or if they were male or female. Sojourner lived to bring justice to others, proclaiming that the truth is power and it will prevail. And here is where we started on the second video. So, like I said, I'm going to upload this and tag it and flag it to let you know to listen to the first half first. We hope that you are enjoying learning about these 10 heroes who won women the right to vote. Women, use your vote. Thank you.